Okay, I'll call the meeting to order at 2:03. Changes, let's introduce ourselves.
Scott Breyer, Select Board.
Dave Gallup, Select Board.
Matt Maxwell, Town Administrator.
David Barlow, Town Treasurer.
Pretty good to have pictures of that.
Any changes or deletions, additions? Any public comment? Okay, approved town report for printing. So me and Deb, if you'll notice, it's marked up in there. Me and Deb have made some changes to it. We think it's pretty good. David's got he found a couple things when he came in today, so he's gonna add his changes into that. And then if you guys
Yeah, mine are a bit substantive, just if I can
go ahead, you're
discuss them real quick. I messed up a couple numbers on the budget of everything. The town administrator budget for fiscal year 24 needs to go up a bit. I didn't take into account that he's on kind of the calendar year right now. We just, per agreement, when he was hired at 60K. We just raised him up on 1 January 65. But then we got to get him back on cycle. Normally that would be 1 July. And I recalculate the budget for that. It's instead of 67,828, it's 76,555. It's a little bit more.
That was me, Matt.
I had calculated the number that's in the budget right now this time. The split between 60 and 65, it really needs to go the other direction.
So what are you using for a percentage here?
8.7.
8.7.
Security, federal cost of living adjustment. Again, you're not approving what you're paying him right now. You're approving the budget. No, it's not much of a distinction necessarily, but the wage sheet that I'm going to come at you with after the budget passes is where you approve all of it. Pin the rows on the person. Here's what you're going to get paid on 1 July. That's the document that I get held to by the auditor as well. That's the one I use when I do pay on 1 July.
So we went through this last year and I don't like it in the sense that I think what we should be presenting to the voters in this book right here should be God. In terms of that, you know what I mean?
can you hear Phil?
So I know
I can hear.
and I know last year I benefited financially, as did others. When we get those, when it was in July, we came up with that.
Well, July 1st, when any pay change start of the fiscal year.
Yeah.
Unless it's a special arrangement, like when we hired Matt. It was similar to when we hired Ned to when we hired Amanda. It's all.
So whenever we do hire somebody, we should make a note that we don't change any wages until start of a new fiscal year.
You could.
Would that make more sense for you? Easier for you?
Doesn't matter to me. It's clarity. I just want to make sure there's enough money in the budget to do what you want to do. Doesn't mean you have to spend it. Right, so that's the distinction. I know it's a thin one, especially when the subject of the topic is sitting right here.
Well,
I could leave.
No, he's fine.
But it applies to all of us really as employees.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think if you're gonna do, or if we're gonna approve, we didn't already approve the 8.6 increase, or did we?
I took it as you did,
I thought we did too.
because you had approved the budget.
And it's kind of hard not to prove it for everyone if you're approving it for anyone, correct?
Well, I thought that's what we were doing.
And I thought, yeah,
I'm coming at you now saying I screwed up.
right, and I think
That's
that's what we
specific
did. I would think when we approved the increase, we approved the increase across the board equally.
So to me, it's not a matter of a number that's being presented. To me, it's a matter of, I want that number presented to the voters, and that's the number.
Okay, I mean, I understand.
That's how I feel personally,
They should know what they're
voting
voting
on.
for.
Yeah.
And most would take it that way. I know I would.
Yeah.
I looked at that and said, I divided by, well, whatever I want to divide by, and say how much you're paying. How much you're paying the treasurer. So. There's that one that was my mistake. There's I guess it's a typo. But I didn't catch. The ballots and clerks BCA line was just a few lines down below that. For some reason, the budget is at 1875, 1,875, and it really needs to be 4,200. And that number's just straightforward. Their raise is minimum wage, so minimum wage went up 5% this year. Last year we budgeted 4,000, this year it's 4,200. I thought that's the number that was in there. I didn't catch.
Was that one of the numbers that came from Deb?
No.
No.
She has a couple too.
Well, I just remember her saying that she had one of her numbers lower this year because there's gonna be less elections.
Yeah.
In the coming years, so she didn't put as much money into one. I didn't know if this was the
Actually, you might be right on that, but I'm gonna second guess our town clerk and say, if the people vote to do an Australian ballot,
Well, then then she's gonna need more money.
that's gonna need to be there, so.
Yeah. About that.
I wouldn't. I guess we're in the unique position of being a town that doesn't have to raise the money through taxation. So. I don't think we want to cut it too close on the budget and just kind of shoot ourselves in the foot if we don't. We have plenty of money.
Yeah, why scrimp it down to the penny? Why not have it
This we're not
a
raising.
$5,000 or $10,000 buffer almost, in a sense, but not really called a buffer?
Right,
It's okay to finish with money reserve left over,
we always do,
right?
so,
You know what I mean? Instead of being, all right, where can I pull this 10,000 that we're short from? That's not a good feeling. And how do we make sense of that?
in avoiding any special town meetings to go, well, we need permission to go around. Small,
Take money from here and put it there.
so,
That's something legally you can do though, right? You can, if you have a special meeting, we can say, hey, oh, we want to take 200,000 out of building and maintenance and put it into.
oh, no,
Can you
you move reserve funds.
Okay, reserve funds or law.
They're,
Okay.
but in the general fund, including roads now, they changed the law, you can do whatever you want within there. Within reason.
So if you wanted to take 10,000 out of roads and put it in,
BCA budget, for instance, or you wanted to.
put in someone,
More likely the flow is a little bit the other way, but,
yeah,
and it's typically just gonna be small amounts, it's 500, 1,000, 1,200.
That's where the state got in trouble. Everybody started raiding their transportation.
Yeah, I would say typically it's not where the excess lies when we finish the budget year. It's usually on the general fund where we have way underspent, just because we have extra built in certain places. There's on the road side, it's typically, not always, typically it's pretty much on target. This year it's pretty good, so. I guess on those two lines, I would just, I don't even know if we really need a motion. Correcting what I see is my errors from the original.
I think, yeah, I don't think we need a motion. I think, no, just,
No particular change to your guidance that I understood it at the time, but
right.
I just want to make you aware that I was doing it and not.
Yep.
And if you had an objection to take it, but, not to just change something without
No,
saying anything.
you think we need a motion for that?
I think I'm good.
You guys,
Phil, anything on the report?
Say that again. So what was that? Was that discussion on the budget part of the report?
Yeah, David had a couple numbers that need to be changed.
Okay. Matt, I went over what with you this morning with a couple things I had.
Yep. Took care of those, I think. Well, I messed around with that gray background. I don't know, Bob. I don't know if you're gonna like it. But the other stuff,
I was thinking just like a light gray, but something just make that heading stick out.
yeah. I'll keep playing around with it. I didn't like what they had for shadings back there, but I fixed the one, so now it says 911 address coordinator, and all those minutes have been saved, make sure they have information along there.
Okay. How about Scott, your letter? Where's that stand? Was that the one you sent me, Matt? Is that the latest revision?
That was the first one. That's the first version that Scott wrote.
And that's how it is. It's in there, or is it anything changed?
No, we took a paragraph out about the taxes because it was in David's letter anyway.
The CLA part?
Yep, but everything else is the
Okay.
same.
I'll say right here that I don't agree with the foundation part being in there. And then it's pretty much what I put in the email, so. I don't think it's our best purview to be putting that in there because that's an article on a voter positioned article and we really can't be swaying votes. I understand where you're coming from, but
I think I want to leave it. I don't think it's swaying the vote. I think it's just stating a fact that they have $130,000 left over of 250.
oh, I get, yeah, and putting information in there maybe, but I still think it's their job to be giving the voters I know, and we can put in there that we have the policy, or at the town meeting, we can say we have the policy that they should be following, but I don't agree with it being in there. If the other two do, then that's fine. I just wanted to make that I don't think we should have that part of it in there. And I'm kind of hesitant on the school section too, but
So what I wrote on the schools, what I said about the school was just to make sure that I was kind of reiterating I wasn't saying that in a negative way. I wanted the voters.
no, I saw the other part when you did it. Yeah. And it wasn't negative part, but you go back and look at our past as far back as you can go. None of the select board letters have anything mentioned about other entities of the town. It's all what we have done as a board and
They were
on our side of that thing.
They were way too nice.
Well, and that's what this is. We're trying to push out the positives of what's happened. And the school and the school isn't, we don't have any purview over the school, and we really don't have any purview over we to a point have purview over the foundation, but not really when it's a voter backed petition. So that's just my part. It's 2 to 3, so that's how it goes.
Actually, if you're opposed to it, you're better off not to say anything about it. Because if you say anything about it, those 56 people fucking hate you already. So every one of them gonna show up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like
I'm fine either way, I really am.
I don't have to say anything about the school. I don't mind taking that piece out about the school. But I didn't mean that in a negative way. I just want people to understand, like, the 20% increase in the school budget isn't a 20% increase as it appears. Percents
Right.
due to our things that are in the control of Coventry. Right? Isn't it like?
But it's also, I also go with that as it's the school board's thing to be explaining that. It's not our side to be explaining that. Yes, we help in that in just normal every day, but I don't think it's officially a response, needs to be officially a response from the board. Because this is the board, the town of Coventry select board letter. It's representing the select board.
Yeah, I'm okay with taking out anything to do with the school. As far as the foundation,
I'll get it all on one page and I don't have to remember everything again.
you'll get it, yeah, it'll be smaller, right?
Perfect.
You said it's his letter anyway.
It's, yeah.
Yeah, said, I'd say No, and I'm,
Well,
I understand Scott's angst on that too, and
Yeah, I do too.
I think it's a little terrifying that 56 people signed a petition. But there was no information given to them on why there was a need for that amount. It was a monkey see, monkey do number that was thrown in there. And they just based it on, well, it's been this long.
Yep.
And it wasn't based on numbers, so that's kind of a scary thing when you've got that many people in a small community just signing it without knowing that. Isn't it?
yeah,
And then the next question is going to be: is those 56 people going to be showing up at town meeting to vote on the article? I guess my feeling, I completely agree with it, and I think it's something to be brought up at the meeting, at that article during discussion.
and the fact that the town clerk was the one pushing the letter around is not really good.
Yeah.
And I say that, and I'll go back to what I just said about not really understanding it, but it's like a school budget. Who the hell really understands that? I mean, it's 9 pages long, you know. I know you do. I don't.
Barlow shaking his head
I'm reading the pages, I go right
or nodding.
to.
You read the last number.
Like, yeah, I look at the projected tax rates, and that's the number I gave you, Scott.
Did you have a chance to look into the form to become a member of the foundation? Did you?
Yeah, I've got it on my computer, it's just a, you know.
And did
Same as all other towns.
Did you know that, Phil, that if you wanted to vote for anything to do with the town foundation, that you have to be a member?
Well, I also heard that if you wanted to put an application in to get help from them, you have to fill out the form to be a member too.
Correct.
That they won't touch your request unless you're a member, which I don't agree with, but and I agree with what you're saying, Scott. I don't agree it needs to be in our letter in the town report.
But I almost think that if the people of the taxpayers of the town of Coventry want to vote to give taxpayer money to the town foundation, they should be a member of the foundation. We should put the letter in, we should put their application letter to be a member of the town foundation in the town of Coventry report. Then everybody would be, if you're not a member, you can't even, when they have their secret vote to say who's on the board, where they don't tell you when they're having it, you can't even vote or even apply to be a member of that unless you're a member of the foundation to begin with.
Yep.
And I kind of thought that was a long way to go by having their own website too. If we're supposed to be a town, it should be on a town. So I didn't know. So I have to ask somebody. Rocky told me that all I had to do was go to Coventry Town Foundation. But if you don't know that and you're in need, isn't that kind of a bad thing when you generally just Google town of Coventry?
Yeah. No, that's the thing. They aren't publicizing enough. It needs to be publicized more, and maybe even if it comes to a town. And I know when we get inquiries, go check the town foundation, but it's not publicized enough for what the services are that the town does. And maybe that's something that you could do that way, is it goes in there of this is what the town foundation can help with, and that could be something that select boards can sell to, not necessarily supporting what their article is, but at least, hey, if you guys didn't know this, here's this.
I mean, I honestly, I think the idea of the foundation to funnel taxpayer money into, different programs to, enrich like the school or enrich education for people and help certain people with this and that. I think the philosophy is a great idea. I think the whole thing is a great idea, but I just don't think it functions 100%
Mhm.
correctly.
Mhm.
We can, yeah,
So it's your letter, you got two choices, you can print it the way you want, or you can speak to it at town meeting. Express your views there.
I'm gonna do both probably. All right, I'll review my letter and when did you get it? Today, right? This is it, yeah. Send me your last draft and I'll tweak it a little more. I'll send it back to you.
I'll let you work.
I tip off at 4 o'clock.
Well,
Then I'm ready for the next game.
we'll get done, we'll get done so you and Scott can work. All right,
Do you guys want a motion? Do they need to approve for printing or?
I will.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
I make a motion to approve the town report for printing after the changes are made today.
so move.
All those in favor? Aye.
All right,
Aye.
Okay, any other business?
no,
Okay, the next thing up is executive session.
we gotta kick Philly out.
If you kick me out, that's fine, because I gotta get going anyway, so that works.
Okay. So
Okay.
somebody's gonna say I make a motion that we enter executive session for a legal discussion.
So move.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, go.
So the board with Matt Maxwell and Dave Barlow are gonna go into an executive session for legal discussion. Premature knowledge could be detrimental to the town. And unfortunately, I don't have VSA statute per statute. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
No action taken, just need to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, guys.
You guys have done a great job.